Okay, hello everyone. Hello, welcome. Hope you're having a good afternoon. 2:30. Welcome to our organizational grant program webinar for your year two grant report. Really happy to see you all. My name is Rosalind Escobar. I think I know most of you. There may be some folks in the room that I don't know yet. The grants programs manager for this program, the OGP. I'm joined by my colleague, Mara Morris. Mara and I will be walking you through this presentation, and I think it's going to be probably a little shorter than an hour. I don't know if we'll take the whole hour, so you might get some time back, but we'll see. Um, I think since it's a smaller group, what we can do is we'll have folks just go ahead and raise your hand if you have questions, and then we'll let you unmute yourself as we're going through it. So don't, if you have something that you want to put in the chat, feel free to do that. But also, if you just want to wait and ask your question out loud, that's totally fine as well. And I'll take breaks every few slides to make time for questions. Here's our agenda. So we're going to go through the OGP grant cycle, a little bit about the requirements, and a discussion of some of the new changes to the report forms that you're going to see. We'll review the grant agreement terms and the budget, some updates to the budget. And then we'll talk you through just how to fill it out. Just we'll show you the forms, we'll show you where things go, touch on the report, post-report audit, and then again, we're going to do questions as we go along. So feel free to just go ahead and ask either by raising your hand or by putting it in the chat. And Mara will be monitoring the chat, just FYI. So thank you for being here. Let's get started. Oh, all right. So before we begin, just wanted to make sure to kind of point you to some helpful links. So we're putting here on the screen some links that you're going to find really helpful as you're starting this process. So number one is we have our reporting requirements webpage. That's where we will be putting this PowerPoint there. We're going to have with a video of this webinar will be there, and we also have a sample of the report questions on that page. So to get that, you're going to go to this link. And just FYI, we're going to send this PowerPoint to everyone after the meeting. So just know these links, you'll have them available as soon as we get the PowerPoint over to you. So we'll email that to you after this meeting. The other thing that's going to be helpful, you're going to hear me repeat this a lot, Exhibit B. So Exhibit B, the OGP terms and instructions, is part of your grant agreement. Pretty much everything I'm going to go through today is on this document. So these are all basically the instructions for how to go through grant reporting, how to submit payment, all of these different instructions. So to definitely make sure you download that, and then a link to the grant portal, which is where you're going to submit everything. All of our applications, our report forms are all submitted through our grant portal, which is not on our website. It's on a different website. So this is the link to get there. So I'm just going to start with an OGP overview, just about the cycle itself and what you're reporting on. So just as a reminder, there may be folks in the room that are new to this grant program and are kind of just starting off. The OGP Organizational Grant Program, this program is a program that is a 2-year grant that is meant to support and boost organizations providing arts programs, activities, experiences throughout LA County. This is general operating support. And so the scope of the projects are very broad. And we know that there's a wide range. There's some really cool programs that we're supporting through this grant. And I believe we have like 500 or almost 500 grantees in this current cohort. So if you're familiar with this, this funding is really meant to support you in accomplishing your mission. And this is the second year, right? So you're coming to the end of your cycle. So we know that for some of you, you've probably completed what you were going to be using the funding for, and now you're just kind of reflecting back and giving us just some updates on how everything went. We know that there has been a lot of probably adjustments and modifications. It's been a tough year funding wise, and there's we're aware of that. So we just want you to know that we've really tried to make sure that the way that we are putting our forms together and our requirements, we're really trying to make it as flexible and easy for you all to submit your information as possible. So you're going to see a lot of that, some changes. I'm going to go through them and you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, this is the end of the 2-year cycle that began in July of 2024. So you're reporting on all the activities that happened between July 2024 and June 2026, anything that we supported with this grant. So those are basically the beginning and end dates of activities you would be reporting on. Again, reminder, we made some changes. So for year 2, invoices were submitted with your year 1 report. So back in 2025, when you submitted your report in June, we then check you off. So we make sure that we completed that. And if you did, you received the year 2 payment in November. And that's what we're doing moving forward, is we're basically making sure that you have your grant funding at the beginning of the cycle rather than at the end. So as long as we're receiving requirements by the deadline, you should be receiving your payments in November. So you've received the year 2 payment already. It probably was deposited into your account, or you received a check in November of 2025. And now you're just reporting back on everything that's happened. And then again, we've made a lot of changes, and I'm going to show you a sample of what the report forms look like, but just know we've removed a lot of questions. We've updated questions. We've removed like budget forms. We've made some questions into check boxes instead of like narrative questions. So hopefully that's going to make things easier for you to kind of get through this task. Hopefully it'll be a little bit quicker. If you want to see, again, the sample form is on our website, and this is the link to see it, all the questions that you're going to see on that report. And then again, the report is submitted here in this grant portal link. Yeah, so we're proud to say we've really tried to reduce the number of questions. It's only 9 now, and it's going to be a lot easier for you all to fill out. So when you're getting started, again, remember, you might need your grant agreement, the one that you submitted back in fall of 2024. Hopefully you've got that in your file somewhere. If you don't, you need a copy of it. Let us know, we can send it to you, but that will be helpful to have on hand. You also might want to, if you're new to this grant and you haven't seen what the original grant application was for, what you all kind of submitted an application for, you might want to take a look at that old application or your year 1 report to just kind of jog your memory. Again, you can go back into the grant portal to download those documents, or you can let us know and we can help you find them. You also might want to have a copy ready to go. If you didn't do this in year 1 and you're doing this in year 2, a copy of the letter of impact that you sent to your supervisor, so your district supervisor. There's the 5 districts, the board of supervisors. They are the reason we have this funding. So we always encourage our grantees to make sure you're writing to them, making sure they're aware of who you are, and inviting them to events as much as possible. And one of the ways that we do that is by making sure that during the grant cycle, either in year 1 or year 2, you've submitted a letter to them. So we need to see that letter. So make sure you have a copy of it. Again, this is only if you didn't do it in year 1. So if you're doing it in year 2, make sure you have that copy. If you haven't sent it yet, you still can. So find the email address of the district supervisor for your district. You can find that here in Exhibit B. Send them an email with that letter and make sure you attach a copy of that letter in the grant portal. If you don't know who the supervisor is for your district, use this link. pop in your address and it'll tell you who the supervisor in your district is. And if you just want to send it to everyone, like all 5 supervisors, that is also okay. We always welcome you to, make your supervisors aware of who you are and what the funding is being used for. In addition to that, you will want to make sure you have your artistic documentation. So that would be high quality images, at minimum 1, at the most 2 images that kind of demonstrate the activities or events that happened during these last 2 years of your grant that you're reporting on. And we always remind folks, please don't submit something that you've already submitted. We want to see something that wasn't submitted with your year 1 report or in your application. So make sure it's something new. And then you'll also want to make sure you have a list. It's the programming zip code list. This is, if you're not familiar, a list of the zip codes of every physical location where you had programming over these last 2 years from 24 to 26. So it's not the addresses of your participants, it's the addresses of where these events took place. And it has to be on an Excel sheet. So make sure you have it all listed in an Excel sheet that you're going to upload into the grant portal. Something that you're not going to see anymore is the proof of recognition. We used to have our grantees send us a copy of like marketing materials or screenshot of our logo on your website or on your marketing materials. We will no longer be requiring that. So you're not going to see that question on our application anymore. I'm going to stop here because I think I might have seen a question in the chat.
No question. Oh, now a question. Roz, do we not send a letter to our supervisor again at the end of the grant cycle?
You're not required to, but if you would like to, I encourage it. I think it's great to keep them aware of everything that's going on and make sure you're, you are on their radar. It's always good to be on their radar and reminding them of like the great work that everybody's doing here in the LA County arts sector.
For the zip codes, is it for activities funded through this grant only or for the entire organization?
It's only for this grant. Anything that was supported through this grant.
So if this grant funded a specific program, it would be zip codes for that program.
Yes. If it was
project.
just, if it was like staffing or general operating support, just like overall funding, then you can just submit a list of everything that happened over these last 2 years as zip codes for every location where a program happened. Online programming, you don't need a zip code. It's okay.
That was it.
All right. Thank you for your questions. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So for final reports, we no longer ask you for an invoice with your report, right? Because we've already processed that payment in November. You're not going to see that in the reporting questions. And so if anybody has any questions or issues with a payment, please feel free to let us know. You can email us, but hopefully you've all received that payment in November of last year. The deadline for this report is June 1st, 2026. So that's coming up in a few days. So hopefully you're already kind of putting these pieces together. And reminder that the Exhibit B has all the details on all these pieces for you to kind of start to put things together as you're going through it. All right. So let's take a look at the grant agreement. So remember, you submitted this in fall of 2024, and this was there may have been some changes since then. So I know sometimes folks have changed their address. They may have changed their grant scope. You've adjusted how you've used the funding. Just a reminder that on our grant agreements, we keep the program and scope very general. We call it general operating support. And the reason we do that is because we want to make sure there's flexibility baked into the program so that you are not having to kind of come back to us and say, I'm not going to use this money the same way that I originally thought I would. So the report forms are really the way that you're going to tell us what might have been adjusted, what might have been modified. So you're going to see that in the grant agreement. It says the scope is general operating support. One thing I will say is just a reminder to check this portion of the agreement, because if there was an address change, you want to make sure that you are letting us know and vendor services know, because you always want to make sure your vendor account is always up to date, because they will only send checks to those specific addresses that are registered in their system. So if you see anything that's different or wonky on your agreement, again, please let us know. Keep us posted on any changes that need to be made. And then just one other quick reminder that one of the requirements of this grant funding is there be a match, a dollar for dollar match. For every dollar of the grant, you should have contributed or earned revenue to match that. And it can be a grant, from the city, it can be a grant from a private foundation, it can just be donations, it can be your board contributions, maybe it's, funds that you've earned from an event. We don't really have any restrictions on how you match it, as long as it's not another county source. So that's just to kind of remind folks, like when you're going through this, that the cost of the full project, that the county funds should not exceed 50% of what that full cost of the project was. I'll stop here in case there's questions.
There was one question about not being able to find the older application card in their account.
Okay, we can help you find it. I know there's been sometimes when there's changes of staffing, sometimes what happens is like maybe there's a new account that's started and the old account has access to the application. And so what we can do is we can transfer that application to the new account. So we just have to maybe just email us at grants@arts.lacounty.gov so we can help you transfer that application to your new account.
That's it.
Great. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so we're going to talk about the grant portal itself. So as I was saying, you need to make sure you have a current account, and we want to make sure that you are using the credentials that you used when you applied originally so that you have access to that application. We can transfer that application if you no longer have access. Just have to make sure you contact us. But normally what would happen is you would log into that account, and then you will see in the portal your original application, your year one report that you submitted last June, and then the new report forms that are due this June. So you would log in on the grant portal at applied-lacdac.smapplied.io. And then what you're going to see is this. You're going to see the dashboard where you'll find, this is the card that we were just talking about. You're going to see a card that says the application ID number, the deadline date, and then the status. And it should probably say manage your grant round 2. That's the one where you will see the report forms. You may see 2 because for some folks, you may have applied for the new cycle. So you'll see 2 cards for OGP. The one that says manage your grant round 2 is the one where the report forms will be visible. So you'll log in, and then you'll click start here on the card, and then you'll see this dashboard where 2 forms will be required for the report. There's 2 forms on that list that are not required. These are optional, these down here. Don't worry about filling those out. That would only be if you need to either submit a change of information or submit a project amendment request. So you'd fill out those 2 top tasks. And then when you're done, oh, let me go back. When you're done, you'll see these two green check marks will appear here, and then this button will turn green so that you can submit the report. We will only be able to see it if you submit it, not just if you complete it. So make sure you click submit after you've completed those forms. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the new report questions, what they look like. Again, remember, we've really reduced them down. There's only 9 questions on the narrative form now. And some of these are no longer narrative, they're checkboxes. And so this is what it looks like. So the first part of this narrative form is where you describe the program goals. And just so you know, this question is actually auto-filled from your application. So you don't even need to change it. If your project remained the same, you haven't really, your description remains correct, then just leave what's in there. It should be auto-filling from your application. If there's been some changes, then you can update it. Maximum 200 characters there. It's a very small, probably like less than a paragraph there where you describe your funded project. And then we ask about your progress and your success around your project. So number 2 is asking you what short-term and or long-term goals you were working on with this project. And I believe the maximum character count has been changed here as well. It's 750. And so here we really, we're hoping to kind of hear how things have gone, what progress you've made, how you've kind of monitored that progress, what challenges you faced, and how you've responded to those challenges. Keep it brief. We really just want to hear about the most meaningful elements of this program, of this project that you've been putting together. And what we hope to gain is a deeper understanding of your project implementation, your progress, and your successes. We want to know about your challenges and just try to understand how we as a funder can help to continue to support you, advocate for you. So it's a small, character count, but we do want to hopefully learn a little bit about how things went over these last 2 years. So you're going to see this third question. It used to be a narrative question, and now we've made it into a checkbox list. And this would be what we used to have as a budget, your budget of how you spent the money. So you no longer have to submit a budget. You just check off how the funds were used from this list. And we know you might probably isn't just one of these, it's probably several of these. So just check off whatever applies to the grant funding. And then the fourth question is describe how the grant helped you achieve the goals that you described above. And then there is the question number 5, where we ask about challenges. So again, this is no longer a narrative response. This is just check the boxes of the types of challenges that you've faced. I believe you can select 3. You can only select 3 from this list. And if you select other, we want to make sure you describe that. So we want to hear a little bit more if you select other. And then after you've selected those 3, we want to know what the biggest one was and what you did to kind of address it. So that one is a maximum of 1,500 characters, a little bit larger character count there. And then the rest of the questions are only for OGP, well, almost only for OGP4 organizations. The very last one is for everyone, but participation in project reach is only for OGP4 organizations. And then partnerships, again, only for OGP4. This is because these are our cultural equity and inclusion questions. If you remember, our OGP4 organizations are required to submit a plan with their application around their cultural equity and inclusion values and vision and a plan for achieving those goals. And so we're kind of asking more specific questions here now. I believe in the past they were a little bit more general, kind of just asking for some what are some milestones that you've reached. And so now we're being very specific, like how have you improved or increased access to arts activities and programs for historically underserved communities? Maximum of 750 characters here. And then the other question is another, basically just a list. If you've partnered with an organization, arts or non-arts, during the grant period, who were they? And so you would list them here. If you want to add a little bit more detail, you can, but really we're just like looking to see a list of partnerships. And then the end of this report, the end of this report form, you're going to certify that the county grant was matched 1-to-1, dollar for dollar, with earned or contributed revenue. And then that's it for the narrative portion of the report. I'll stop here.
One person wanted to confirm that answering the questions is for the entire 2-year cycle, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And someone is commenting on how dramatically simplified everything is.
Yay! Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot easier and hopefully quicker to fill out.
And also just confirming that we will be emailing out the slides as well as a link to the recording. It'll go out to everyone, everyone's primary contact in cohort 2, year 2. But again, if you don't receive that email and you need it, just send a message to the grants inbox and we'll get it over to you.
That's right. And then we're also going to put it on our webpage. So if you ever like are like, oh, I just need to find it right now, and you don't have access to that email, you can find it on our webpage as well. Yeah. So let's talk about supplemental materials. So the supplemental materials, this is the second form that's required. This is where you're going to attach the images that we talked about. So 1 to 2 high quality images, the copy of the letter of impact to the Board of Supervisors, your programming zip code list. Remember, it's just the locations of programming, not the participant zip codes. And then you will also submit, oh, I think that's it. Yeah, we used to have the proof of recognition, which we no longer have. So it's just those 3 items that you need to make sure you have and you upload. So once you're done, again, you're going to see the green check marks. You're going to click the submit button that's green when you're done. And then we suggest that you download your report, just so you have it for your files. Make sure you download it. Make sure you have your original application, your year 1 report, and your final report just in your files, just ready to go, as well as your backup documentation for your expenses, your proof of expenses. And we won't ask you for it for the most part, but in some cases, when we do audits, we may come back to you and say, please submit your receipts, your backup documentation for the expenses that were supported through this grant. So just make sure you have like a file with those documents. And that brings us to the end. So feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat if you have questions.
One additional question is in the chat. Can we only submit 1 photo for supplemental materials, or would you accept a collage with multiple photos in 1 document?
We prefer 1 or 2 just single images, but if you do want to send us like a collage, you could email that to us. You can email it here to grants@arts.lacounty.gov. Just because when we start to download the images, we do sometimes use them for some of our communications or emails. So it's easier for us to deal with like single images rather than like a PowerPoint slideshow. But if you do have something, you definitely are welcome to email it over to us.
Can Creative Recovery LA funds be included as matching funds for this grant?
No, and the reason is that the one rule with matching funds is that it can't be another county source of funding.
Right.
but anything else would work. Another grant, donations, board contributions. Yeah.
That's it for the chat.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Again, reminder, our email is here. Feel free to call us, feel free to email us. We're around. We know that you're going through this reporting process right now, so we're available to help. Anne is not with us today. Mara was with us. Thank you, Mara, for helping with the chat. But Anne will be back. And so Anne and I will be kind of answering your calls, answering your questions, supporting you through this. Appreciate your time today. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day, and glad that we could give you 30 minutes back. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.